The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans. It is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. The Ride Home Rants podcast wants to thank you for listening and let everybody know that we do offer monthly subscriptions to help support the show in other ways other than listening and downloading each episode. What you will get with each subscription is you will get bonus episodes that aren't released to everybody. You will also have a chance to ask me anything each and every month where I will put out a special episode just to answer your questions. You will also get more exclusive content that is not released to everybody. To subscribe to the show, go and click on the link in the description of this episode, and I look forward to your added support and to help us keep this show going.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is also brought to you by Buddy's Beard Care. Buddy's Beard Care provides premium men's grooming products at an affordable price. Products are made in Ohio, and Buddy's Beard Care supports local. The majority of our supplies are from other Ohio-based companies. You can find them on social media at Buddy's Beard Care or online at buddysbeardcare.com. Use the promo code BONO15 and he will save you 15%. I've been using these products for a little over 6 months now, and my beard has never felt healthier. It has never grown faster, and according to my wife, it has never felt softer. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by former guest of the show in Matt Landowski in Sweet Hands Sports. Elevate your game with Sweet Hands Sports. Our sports gloves are designed for champions, providing ultimate grip and durability. Achieve greatness with every match. Choose Sweet Hands Sports for the winning edge. Grip your victory at sweethandsports.com. Use the promo code BONO10 and he will save you 10%. He has sent me a complimentary pair of golf gloves. They are so comfortable, durable, and breathable. You won't find a better pair of gloves out there. Again, sweethandsports.com, promo code BONO10. Lastly, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Deemed Fit, a clothing company from first responders for first responders. These products are so comfortable. They look great. They have great messages on them. They are provided to support first responders, especially those who worked through COVID. All of the proceeds are going to helping veterans and first responders with their mental and physical health. This is a great cause. I support anything that has to do with our first responders and our veterans. Again, deemedfit.co, promo code Mike Bono will save you 20%.
Now, let's start the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is your special guest, Fiddy, on the ones and twos today. Spinning the mic as we talk about all things Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl 2025. We're previewing our first Hawaii Bowl of 2025. I got my hat on here. Big Rainbow Warriors fan for people that don't know. I got an illustrious panel of guests, 6 guys coming from every single direction, talking about all things Hawaii football, the state of Hawaii, and the Hawaii Bowl. Before, though, we jump into the show, make sure you peep all of our sponsors in the pre-roll and the post-roll, as most, if not all, are small business owners, and they would love your support. They support us here at Ride Home Rants. We want to make sure we're throwing the love back and supporting them. Also, make sure you peep all of these guests on their individual shows and all the roundtables that they've been on throughout the years. We're rounding out season 5 here and approaching season 6 here in 2026. So we're really excited about that. So without further ado, here to talk about all things Hawaii football, all things Hawaii Bowl, kicking off on Christmas Eve on the islands at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 3 p.m. Pacific Time, is this great panel of guests to break it all down. So first and foremost, guys, when you dive in, you're going to say your name, where did you go to college, and who is your favorite college football team? And we're going to start with the head coach himself, Drew McLaughlin.
Hey guys, what's up? Drew McLaughlin here. I went to Youngstown State University, and my favorite college team is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Go Bucks.
Okay. We're going to introduce soon-to-be dad for the second time, and Mr. Notre Dame College himself, TJ.
I can't take that big of a name, but yeah, TJ Ludd, glad to be back on here. It's always a blast being here. I went to Notre Dame College, Division II up in Cleveland. And also my favorite college team is the Ohio State University. I think just by proxy, I think that's just kind of how that happened. But, I love college sports. So everybody's in except for that one team that can't beat us and whatnot.
Okay. Coming to you from the West Side, Mr. Cleveland himself, West Side Bill.
Hello, what's going on, everybody? Name's Bill. As always, good to be back here. As far as college, I went to Kent State. They're not too fond of watching I'm not too fond of watching their football team. Not too good. Would love to see them get a little bit better here, but my team as well is the Buckeyes, OH. So hopefully a good, fun playoff ahead of us after the Hawaii Bowl here.
Okay. A future head coach in training and a many-year defensive coordinator, Chris.
Chris Marsco. I went to Ohio University my freshman year, and then I transferred back to Youngstown State where I got my degree, and then dark times in Ann Arbor, but I'm still a proud Michigan fan. Go Blue.
All right. Coming to us from originally Virginia, now in Pittsburgh, assistant head football coach, Jordan.
What's up, guys? Jordan DeMarco. I played football down at Wingate University, a Division II school in North Carolina, and then finished up my schooling at Bethany in West Virginia. Sadly, I am a Pitt fan, and I say sadly because there's not much to cheer for these days. It's a fraud every single year, 8-1, then it's 8-4. So sadly a Pitt fan, but I'm partial to the Buckeyes, so I'm rooting for the Buckeyes in the playoffs.
Well, you know what, though? All these Youngstown State guys here are connected somewhat to, Pat Narduzzi, especially because of his dad being in Youngstown, being the coach there, and now Pat being connected at Pitt. So a lot of Youngstown State and Pitt connections there. And finally, coming via Maryland, Florida, and now Cleveland, Cole.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Cole. I went to Johns Hopkins University, and I grew up a Syracuse Orange fan.
Okay. So we have guys coming from literally all over here. A lot of Buckeyes fans and a couple guys who aren't. But you know me, I'm Fitty. Of course, I went to Bethany College in West Virginia, and I am the only Hawaii fan on the mainland of the United States, probably in the continental 48 states. Maybe there's somebody in California and Arizona, probably the only Hawaii fan in Ohio. But hey, you know what? That's okay. Let's go Bows. So, guys, we're going to break down all things Hawaii football today in the Hawaii Bowl. So let's dive right into it, all right? So the Hawaii Bowl has been around since 2002. For all of us older guys on the podcast, we probably grew up watching this. But it's not been affiliated with any other bowl like the Aloha Bowl, the Pineapple Bowl, or many of the other bowls before it. Been a lot of bowls in their history. So some of the Hawaii Bowl former MVPs come from winning and losing teams, which is really interesting. But they included some former and current NFL players such as Jimmy Clausen, Chris Johnson, Golden Tate, Zach Wilson, Greg Solis, Brandon Marshall, Cole McDonald, and current Hawaii head football coach Timmy Chang, a.k.a. Timmy the Machine Gun Chang, who's also the only two-time MVP of the Hawaii Bowl in history. Hawaii has 9 appearances all time in the Hawaii Bowl, which is in first place. And in second place with 3 appearances each is Fresno State and Nevada. So just a note, though, in 2020 and 2021, the Hawaii Bowl was not played due to COVID restrictions. So regardless, guys, of who's been playing in the game any single year from when it started in 2002 up through now, except for the 2 years of COVID, what are your thoughts on this game being played on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? In the history of the game, only 3 games were never played on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, as this traditionally has been a Christmas Eve type of game. So, Stoy, let's start with you. What are your thoughts about this game being played on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got positives and negatives to it. I think obviously going to be taking time away from home, but hopefully there's some opportunities for some families to kind of tag along, have a really cool Christmas experience kind of down there with some of the players and stuff. But could definitely see it, being tough on some of the coaches, players, being away from family. But I think it definitely kind of puts out, unique opportunity if money allows to kind of get down there. Hopefully they're able to put some funds together, get some families down there to spend kind of a cool holiday with them. But could definitely see some positives and negatives to it. But I think it makes for a fun watch for the viewer, kind of being able to be kind of maybe around family. I feel like growing up, holidays always had some type of sports on the TV. So definitely makes for a fun viewing experience for the viewers as well.
Okay, Cole, what do you think of this? You're a warm weather guy, being from Florida for a good period of time. What are your thoughts about the Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, I mean, the distance has got to be rough, right? Doing that flight and then having a game probably a few days later. Probably would rather play in Florida or Southern California. But yeah, I think I agree with Bill Stoy with it being like more of an adventure for these guys, getting to get out there and check out Hawaii. How often do you get to go to Hawaii? You might never get another chance to go again. And then as a viewer, yeah, it's great. I mean, all the bowl games are so much fun, but this one's a little different because now we don't even have the Pro Bowl over there. So it's probably, it's really probably the only main event over in Hawaii at this point. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay. Drew, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Cole and Bill said. A negative way for it is it probably sucks for the players and the family going out there on Christmas Eve. It's a different way from being from family. But for myself, I know we talked about this video. One of my fondest memories, really first times getting into football, was watching the Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve with my dad. We'd sit there and, it was always like a 7:30, 8 o'clock start. And him and I, when all the chaos was going on upstairs, would just sit down and watch football. And it didn't matter who was playing or, Hawaii, whoever it may be. We just love watching football. So that's really kind of what started getting me into the game and really enjoying it. So, I never forget that. And every time I watch it, I always think back to those times.
Okay. Coach Marshall, what about you on this one?
I love it. I have fond memories also. I always seemed, I had the little 19-inch box TV with the VCR under it in my bedroom. And, you had to go to bed early because Santa was coming. But, the Hawaii Bowl was always on. So a very many consecutive years in a row where that was my last memory before walking down the stairs to see what presents I got. So always holds a special place in my heart. Still on in the background to this day. I have a son now, so I'm sure whether he likes it or not, he's going to have Hawaii Bowl memories too. So hopefully they're fun like mine. But I think it's great because it's unique. There's a lot of magic surrounding Christmas. Hawaii is a magical place. Getting to live the life of a college coach for 3 years, the opportunity to go to Hawaii, like Cole said, doesn't come about for many of these kids, if it ever, down the road in their life. So an opportunity like that, you've already signed up to be a college athlete. So giving up your holidays is kind of a formality. So the opportunity combined with the magic of that night and time and location, it's a beautiful combination. So I think they shouldn't even think about moving it.
Okay. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I agree. I think from an at-home viewing standpoint, if you're a true football addict, you're looking for anything to watch on Christmas Eve football-wise, and that's something you can always bank on, and I think it's good to keep it on Christmas Eve. And then kind of how everyone else mentioned, from a playing standpoint, I don't think you're already foregoing your holidays, kind of what Marsko said. That's coming. Why not go to Hawaii rather than Detroit or somewhere freezing for a bowl game, And then from a coaching standpoint, it's got to be tough on the coaches. I mean, how do you get those players that have never been to Hawaii to focus in on a game on Christmas Eve in Hawaii? It's a once in a lifetime experience for those kids. They may never go back to that island ever again. It's got to be a little bit nerve wracking as a coach to reel them in and, hey, we got a job to do and focus on it. But it's got to be an awesome experience as well to go down there for Christmas Eve. Something you won't forget, as a player or coach.
And that's going to be a good point to bring back up here in a couple questions, Jordan, because we have something like that on the agenda. But TJ, let's round this out with you. What are your thoughts about this game traditionally being played on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, my first thing is that it's bold. Not many people are signing up to do it, just for all the reasons that have been stated before. Do you have players backing out? Do you have people? I'm going to go spend time with my family. The season's over. It's a bowl game. You can run into some of those issues, but I love the comment. Bringing up, you kind of give up your holidays. Somebody asked me a lot and said, "Hey, so what kind of vacations did you go to growing up?" I'm like, when I was playing, that's the places I traveled were my vacations. So, I mean, you give some of these kids just something that they can, may never even have had the opportunity to even think about doing. So, and that's the beauty of sports. It's the beauty of travel. Just going to places that you might not have even thought about going to or have the opportunity to have done. So, I mean, for these kids, they're going to look back on it. They'll remember it for the rest of their lives. So, I mean, that's kind of what we do the sports for. So I'm okay. I'm good with it.
Okay, guys, which leads me into a great next question. Now, you're all different ages, right? Some of you are in your 20s, some of you are in your, mid 30s. And some of you are married, some of you have children, some of you are single. So I want to kind of get your opinion on this. So would you consider attending the Hawaii Bowl like right now in your life, no matter who is playing, to go to the game and spend Hawaii or spend a couple of days in Hawaii over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day on the sandy beaches of, 80 degrees. So, TJ, let's start with you because you're going to be a dad here in next couple of days. So would you do it right now?
Absolutely not. It's the pleasant nature that my wife is in right now, and 9 months pregnant. I don't know if traveling on a plane and walking around and having a toddler and all that fun stuff. But I tell you, if it was a couple of years from now when both my kids are young, we would definitely do it. And I think that the football game would kind of be a byproduct of the family trip. But yeah, I mean, let's go. Let's do it. Again, you're talking about experiences. People remember these things for the rest of their lives. So, I'll do it. I convince them to drag into a football game. It's like, hey, we're going to Hawaii.
Okay. Jordan, would you convince your wife Michaela to go with you to watch the Hawaii Bowl and spend Christmas on the beach? What are you thinking?
She's so easy. She would definitely be like, hey, we're going to Hawaii. Absolutely. You got to drag me to a football game for 2.5 hours. Absolutely. It's fine. I'll suffer 2.5 hours for the rest of the experience. That'd be like the easiest, convincing job of all time. It would take no work at all. She'd be like, all right, let's buy the plane ticket. Let's go.
Marsco, what about you?
You got to ask a clarifying question. Do the kids have to come or no?
I mean, you can do whatever you want.
All right. Well, I've got a lot of really qualified babysitters within 10 minutes of the house. So, yeah, I'd go right now. I think now's a great time to go. It's funny because my wife was asking me when I was reading on my phone leading up to the episode. I was like, I'm researching the Hawaii Bowl a little bit. And I was like, I know you don't know anything about the Hawaii Bowl. I said, that's why I'm reading about it myself. I said, would you want to go to Hawaii? And we're talking about how long the flight is. And we're like, yeah, you know what? We would want to go to Hawaii. So yeah, right now, absolutely. The Nona and Mugga are real close. They could tandem the babysitting and me and my wife would go to Hawaii Bowl. Absolutely.
Okay. And then, you can just be on the beach. It could be like you guys were just dating all over again. Right, just enjoying the vacation.
Growing you back. How
and
romantic.
Then
family and football.
Right, and then probably after a day you'd miss your kids and be like, man, I really wish they were here. But you know what? Hey, it's a good thing to want to do. So, yep. Drew, what about you? Would you go watch the Hawaii Bowl and spend a couple of days in Christmas in Hawaii?
100%, without a doubt, absolutely. I don't know how many more times I could say yeah to that question. 3 years ago. My buddy got married in the Bahamas for New Year's Eve. When I got on the plane in Pittsburgh, it was -2 degrees in Pittsburgh. When I got off the plane in the Bahamas, it was 78 degrees in the Bahamas. So, yeah, I am going wherever it's warm. Sign me up. I don't care if it's Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. It doesn't matter to me. I am going. And football's involved, so it's that much better.
Cole, what about you, man?
Yeah, I got no reason not to, right? I mean, I haven't been, I'd love to go. I don't know if I'd come back is the only problem. I might just stay out there at this point, especially during these tougher months in the Great Lakes. But yeah, what an experience that would be. Also football, like it would be so much fun.
And Bill, before we get to, you know what, Cole, I always said, like, if I ever wanted to, like, just move to Hawaii, right? Like, I would grow a beard, wear an eye patch, name myself Lefty. I'd sleep on the beach and, like, dock boats all day. Because, like, you would make so much money, like, docking boats. Like, you know how easy that job would be? You pay no tax. I live under, I ate coconuts off the beach. Like, it'd be the greatest thing ever. And I'll fish like Tom Hanks in Castaway with a spear. Like, it'd be the greatest life ever. you know so I'm right there with you. So if I ever am real desperate, I think I'm going to go do that in Hawaii for the rest of my, hopefully last half of my life. So, but Stoy, what about you? What are you doing? You going to Hawaii to watch the Hawaii Bowl and spend it on the beaches?
Hard to follow that up, Fitty, but absolutely, I'm going. Just the thought of the experience of obviously the bowl game, watching football, be a blast, having fun. But Christmas in Hawaii, I feel like it's just one of those experiences that only so many percent of people get to do. So would love to. Obviously, would like to have as much of the family and friends and everything that I can bring down there with me to do it. But would I definitely be there? I think it'd be a blast for an experience.
Okay. So, guys, this kind of then leads into the third question here. So, for these players, you have qualified for a game on Christmas Eve. We just talked about, right? It's probably the only college football game, really being played over probably the past few years that we can all remember. Not only that, but you're spending Christmas in Hawaii on the beaches with water temperatures at about 77 degrees. So valid, want to be there, right? And the air temperature is 80 degrees with no humidity on an island of paradise and tourists. But yet there's no bugs and no humidity there. So you don't have to worry about mosquitoes. But, as a coach, right? As a coach, how do you keep not just your players, but your staff and your other members of your team focused on the game itself? So I'm going to kind of start with the guys who are football coaches here. So, Jordan, let's start with you from an assistant coach perspective. How are you keeping everybody on task? Not just the players, but the staff in this beautiful weather in paradise when there is a ton of temptation?
Yeah, I think you got to state the obvious. Like, listen, we're here. We're in Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like, let's not sugarcoat and go, let's block out all distractions and blah, 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 and give that kind of rah-rah speech. There's a time and a place is going to be the main thing you got to tell the guys. There's going to be a time and a place where we kind of let you experience this for a little bit. But then when we are on the field practicing or we're in team meetings, we got to be 100% focused in and honed in on what we're doing, kind of go into that mode where you're blocking out everything for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, and then when you're outside of that, enjoy the experience, let the kids have that experience, let the coaches have that experience to really appreciate where you're at and what you're doing. But when it's football time, it's football time, and you got to try to keep the kids focused on that goal when you're in that moment. But at the same time, I think it is important to be real with the kids and go, listen, we're here. We're going to do maybe a few things a little bit different. But when it's time to practice and time to meet, we got to be 100% locked in on that.
Okay. What about you, Chris? You're an assistant football coach too. What are you doing in this situation?
Much like Jordan said, I have kind of maybe the Pete Carroll approach to it. I don't know if work hard, play hard's the exact mantra that I'd use, but we're in Hawaii. You got to cut them loose, but I feel like having that kind of leeway there, especially with kids nowadays, kind of if you connect with them, that'll garner you the respect that they're going to work hard when they're there. I think you got to lean into it. There's going to be natural distractions. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance around bowl games. It's a very fun thing. Guy got to go through the FCS playoffs. Once we made the national title game, it's very much like a bowl game experience. There were different things planned out for us, and it was a very memorable time. I can only imagine doing it down in a place like Hawaii, on time like Christmas Eve, that whole week leading up to it. So I think, but it's also you got to know your team. If you have a team that you do that and you end up with people arrested or in trouble or breaking curfew, maybe that's not the strategy to have. But you're telling me I got the perfect circumstances, everything in a vacuum. I feel like you lean into being in a place like that in a time like that, and that's normally compensated.
Okay.
Or
Now, Drew,
reciprocate, excuse me.
okay, Drew, as the head football coach, what's your approach, to this? As the guy who has to oversee all these people, how is your approach to keeping everybody under control in this situation?
Yeah, and just like Jordan and Chris said, it's a unique situation. My philosophy on it is if you're in the Hawaii Bowl, it's probably your 12th or 13th game of the year. Your culture is already set. Everyone knows what the standard is. Everyone knows what the expectation is. It's not like it's week one where it's all willy nilly. You're trying to find your identity and who's the guys and what's your culture and what you're trying to believe in. So at this point of the year, these guys should know the rules and what's going on. Obviously, it's a different situation. You're not in Youngstown, Ohio. You're in Hawaii, so you're going to enjoy it. Maybe on the planning side of things, you think, okay, let's maybe go down for an extra day and get all right, hoopla out of the way. Let's go to the beach one day as a team. Let's enjoy that. And then, from there on, we start planning and thinking about football. So you think about that angle of it as well. But I think overall, it's your culture of your team, and they know they're there for the right reasons to play football and win a football game. So that's the biggest thing. And like I said, by your 12th or 13th game of the year, these kids should know what's going on.
Okay. Now, for Cole, TJ, and Bill, we're going to have you answer this too. But, I want to also point something out as you guys are answering this. This is Hawaii's home game. So there is no temptation with Hawaii, right? But, Cal is in this game. So, if you're Cal and you're coming here, right, or you're any other team coming here, you're fighting a lot more distractions than Hawaii has because Hawaii's used to this every single, week. So, Cole, if you're a team coming from the outside, how are you controlling them to keep them focused on a task at hand?
Well, I think that the coaches all made great points where you got to let them have a little bit of freedom. You can't just immediately go to work. I think that they need a little bit of freedom as a player. I think that's going to be super important. The other thing is it's Cal. It's the time difference isn't that huge, but I would still be concerned about their bodies acclimating to the time zone change and all that. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is just making sure they're ready, and it's a nationally televised game. You don't want to look like an idiot, and try to work as much as possible and play hard. Like somebody, I think it was Chris referenced Pete Carroll. Like I think that's also kind of a good way to look at it.
Okay, what about you, Bill? What are you saying about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think all these other guys got probably more experience thinking about that than I do, but I think what everyone said. I kind of have serious time, have play time. I think as you're getting down there, have a schedule for the full week or full few days you're there. Stick to the schedule and make sure everyone kind of knows where to be and when to be there. And outside of that, definitely have a little fun and get ready for the game as well. But I think what everyone's been saying kind of covers all of it.
Okay. Now, TJ, your perspective of this, and you played at a, pretty well-established, high school football program, Willoughby South. You played with Cleveland's own Kareem Hunt there as well, right? You guys were a part of some big games with a very passionate staff, led by a great coach with Coach Duffy. So with your experiences playing for someone like that and coaching with someone like that, what's your message to everyone for this game with these distractions?
Yeah, this all started. It's not just this game. It's not just this week. This all started in August. You set the tone in camp. You set the tone in 2 days. You sit there and you make sure that you have the right players in front of you, because you're not going to win anyway, and you wouldn't be in this bowl game if you didn't have the right players in front of you. So that's a huge start to it. And your coaches should buy in. Again, that's a lot of hours for not as much money, and you don't want to go and travel across the country and waste it, getting embarrassed on national TV. But yeah, just the goal at hand. No matter what anybody says, your job when you go on a road trip is to win that game. You get to experience a new city. That's great and all, but winning is the most fun you can have as an athlete. So all the other stuff kind of subsides if you really put that first. You put your family first, but then you put winning next. That's what an athlete is. So you really have to make sure your players understand that, hey, there is structure. There's going to be times where we have team meals. There's going to be times where we have free time. There's going to be downtime. You set that into the schedule because they want structure too, as players. But I think that as long as you set that tone early on, and in August, you're not going to go and be disrespectful to a coach and a program that has given you everything, including that opportunity to travel across the country, travel to Hawaii. So, setting the tone early is the biggest thing for me.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a little bit about getting prepared for the Hawaii Bowl and the temptations that are there. And if we spend the time there, let's dive a little bit more into Hawaii. So Hawaii landed 11 players on the all-conference list on a team that finished 8-4 this year, led by Timmy Chang, former coach. Only defeats that they had were to Arizona, which was just a bad loss, bad game for them. A tough 2-point loss to Fresno State, touchdown loss to San Jose State. And they lost to a very talented UNLV team, led by redshirt freshman and freshman of the year, Michael Alejado from Bishop Gorman High School in Nevada. Great football program there. And special teams player of the year, Kanzai Matsusawa, a.k.a. the Tokyo Toe, one of the best kickers in all of college football. Lost out, I think, in the voting to the kicker from Michigan or one other school. The three of them were finalists there. So, and Timmy Chang's one of the most historic players, not just in Hawaii football history, but NCAA history with yards, touchdowns, and also, sadly, interceptions. He's right up there with the legend Colt Brennan, and we all probably remember Colt Brennan, rest in peace. Now, while Alejado may not be Chang or Brennan, he put up 21 touchdowns this year with 9 interceptions for 2,800 yards in 10 games. He missed a few with an injury. Hawaii was led on the ground by the human hammer and legacy football player Landon Sims with 523 yards and 3 TDs. 15 players caught passes for Hawaii, which is very impressive, with 7 of them scoring touchdowns. So led by Harris's 12 touchdowns and 963 yards, and Ashlock 6 touchdowns and 62 catches. The offense really did hum at times. Where this is going into, guys, is Hawaii is known to have these offenses that move fast with the run and gun concepts behind them. What are your thoughts on this type of offense? And for us older guys here, this was June Jones that started this offense way back in the day with Timmy Chang and Nick Rolovic, who we're going to talk about here shortly, and going on to Cole Brennan, Cole McDonald, and a lot of other guys. So, Drew, let's start with you on this. What are your thoughts of this run and gun offense, overall as an offensive coach?
Yeah, I think there's, pros and cons to a lot of things. One of the pros that sticks out to me is, you think about your climate, your weather. You're in Hawaii, you're not dealing with snow or really any crappy weather. So, you're not like you're in Cleveland Brown Stadium trying to run the run and gun. You're in Hawaii, so you usually have nice weather, and that also plays a factor into it. I firmly believe it comes down to your players. If I got a group of guys that it's not going to be a run and gun team, I'm not going to run the run and gun. But obviously, they recruit who they want, and they get those type of kids, and that's their identity. That's been their identity for a long time, and for a lot of the time, it worked for them. So, I know different coaches come and go, but having a guy there that played in that system, now he's coaching that system, a lot of familiarity there, and they have success doing it. So, if the old line, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But, just try to keep getting better and better at it.
Okay. Cole, what are your thoughts of this? Now, you're a former, offense and defense lineman, right? When you played during your time. But what are your thoughts of this type of offense, especially from a lineman standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, when so my high school went to the state championship my freshman year, and I got to play on defense, which was great. And the team we were playing, DeMatha, they played that style of offense, and it was pretty rough on us. We were all pretty exhausted, and we got our butts kicked. So I think it's super effective if your defense isn't really ready for it or athletic enough for it. You guys were saying already, if you're recruiting for that type of player for offense, like, it's going to work out great because you're going to be more athletic. You'll be able to, get those plays done. Now, the only problem is I don't know how good Hawaii's defense is, because they're going to be on the field a whole lot more with an offense style like that. So, yeah, I think it's effective, but I also think there's a lot of other factors that could hurt you going into it.
Okay. Bill, same thing for you. You know, you played for legendary football coach Phil Annarella and the Mighty Fitch Falcons. You know, you're an offense and defensive lineman, played with former NFL player, you know, Billy Price, as well. So, you know, what are your thoughts, you know, on the lineman perspective of this from your opinion?
Yeah, I think from the lineman perspective, you're running and gunning, you're moving a lot out there. So for the big fellas, you better make sure, and as it started in August, you're in shape, ready to go, and doing a whole lot of pass sets out there. So it could definitely be quite a bit of fun. But as a lineman, especially playing at Fitch, we did a lot of running, the ball. Sometimes it's fun to get after them, but I think, you know, definitely unique. And I think as you know, thinking about Hawaii and their perspective on running it, I think not that it's gimmicky, but I think it's very unique, the style of offense. And I kind of equate it maybe to a little bit of like, you know, the wing T or the triple option that some of the academies run. And being Hawaii, you know, the recruiting is very unique there to try to get kids out there. You're recruiting a lot of obviously the state. So, you know, I think of talent equating and trying to make sure you have a little bit of an advantage. The defense has to prepare specifically for this type of offense. They're really only going to do that maybe once a year. So it's sometimes tough to defend. You can kind of talent equate if you feel like you might be at a recruiting disadvantage. And I think if you kind of build your program around that, making sure you kind of have a specialty offense and everyone has to prepare for you kind of week in when they get to you, sometimes, you know, could be advantageous down the line. Like I see, you know, a lot of times maybe big teams will struggle with some of the academies running a triple option stuff. So kind of view it as a little bit of a talent equation, the kind of advantage there for them running that type of offense.
Okay, and you know, two quick things I want to point out here. You know, Hawaii's defensive coordinator, like with Cole was talking about how good Hawaii's defense is. They're not great, but their defensive coordinator is Dennis Thurman, former defensive backs coach for the New York Jets, who's been a defensive coordinator in the NFL. I think that's the type of defensive coordinator you need out there, because you're probably never going to have the most outstanding defensive athletes. Your better athletes are probably always going to be on offense, but you need to scheme it up the best, you know, you can in that sense. Now, Chris, I want to get your perspective on this, because you are also a former offensive lineman in high school, but you are also a defensive coordinator. You know, what is your thought about Hawaii running this? Because when you play a very talented defense, like someone who has athletes like Arizona, you know, you can get shut down pretty quick. But if you don't have great athletes on defense, someone like Air Force, when Hawaii played them, Hawaii went on a 21 play, 79-yard drive that went 12 minutes off the clock, and 30 minutes of real time went between Air Force getting the ball between that. So, you know, Chris, in your opinion, as an offensive lineman and a defensive coordinator, what is your thoughts on this offense?
If they have the talent that a DeMatha has, all day long, you can run and gun them, because you know at the end of the day, even if your defense is out there longer, you've got the dudes that you don't put up the points that it's ultimately you're just going to create too many possessions. Now I'm more of the Jim Tressel school of thought. We're going to punt the ball and be a little stingy on D and run the clock. You know, somebody who's got to call defensive plays for a couple years now, it's very frustrating when you do play a team of greater talent, and that's your offense, and you know, 40 seconds comes off the clock and your defense is back out on the field. I think it's a great offense, certain situations. Coach McLaughlin made a great point for Hawaii to run it. I think it's awesome. The worst weather they're playing in is warm and rainy. You know, there's not really ever going to be windy down there. It's not, you know, extremely adverse conditions. Cold's not an issue. But you know, up here Northeast Ohio, I'm not a huge fan of that offense unless you really have the guys to do it. I'm a little more ground and pound, control the clock, be efficient. But I understand why, like Coach said, pros and cons to everything. Personally, though, I'm a little more old school with my offensive philosophy.
Okay. Jordan, you're a former, you know, Division II and Division III quarterback and assistant football coach right now. What are your thoughts on this run and gun?
Yeah, I think it makes all the sense in the world for Hawaii to do it. A couple good points were made. McLaughlin talking about the weather, obviously. And then my second point is recruiting. As a school like Hawaii, you're never going to get the high end recruits. And especially for the big boys up front, you're probably not getting the big boys and the maulers up front that are going to wear you down, ground and pound. You're probably looking at more athletic linemen is what you're going to get. From a recruiting standpoint, you have that ability with the West Coast to probably find a little bit more athletic linemen to help run that type of offense. And it's fun. I think it's a recruiting standpoint is, hey, if you're a big time quarterback with smaller Division I offers, do you want to throw the ball a million times? Do you want to go up and down the field like crazy? I think it's a recruiting standpoint to go, we have fun at Hawaii. You're going to love the weather. We're going to move the ball and put up points. We're going to have a lot of fun on offense. So I think you kind of nail on those three things, and that's how they get kids to go there and maybe buy in a little bit with that type of offense. It's been there for a while now. It's a standpoint of it. It's what makes Hawaii football fun. There's pros and cons to everything. Like as a defensive coordinator, I would hate it if our offense ran it, just because there's times where you could be looking at 3-play drives after you just had a long defensive stand, you're back on the field, things like that. And then going against a team like that would be quite annoying. But I think it makes sense as well for the conference that they play in. You're going to put kids in space. It's going to be tough to prepare for. I think Hawaii football looks more at, hey, can we win our conference every year versus, going against a team like Arizona. We'll take our lumps when we take them maybe, but let's be competitive in our conference play.
Sure. TJ, round us out on this.
Yeah. So, when I played football in high school, we were spread offense the first 3 years. And then we realized handing the ball to Kareem was a better option. And then my senior year, we were pro I. So I had fun my first 3 years playing wide receiver. But think about this even like a deep, we have a few defensive coordinators, people have called plays. Not that you panic, but you can't get your plays in. You're just sitting there, you're running base. Hey, what's my blitz off of base here? What's the one guy I can send? And it doesn't matter anyway, because a lot of times that ball comes out quick. They're running a lot of bubble screens. They're running a lot of hitches. They're running those. No, then it's a hitch and go. Then it's a slant and go. And they're trying to get the ball to their athletes. So, calling plays against it can be really tough. But as Hawaii, you need an efficient quarterback, because if you don't have an efficient quarterback, you're just giving the ball to the other team whenever they want it. Maybe you score 21 points, but at the same time, you now are going to lose the time of possession battle, which is a huge indicator in if you win that game or not. And then you're going to lose the fact that when your defense is spending that much time on the field, it just wears them down. So they obviously, it's just high risk, high reward type of deal. You got to have the people to run it. You got to have the coaches to call the plays, and have the system and stay ahead of the chains and things like that to get the ball on the field. So there's a lot to it.
Okay. Now, guys, I want to get your opinion on this. Who wins the game between Hawaii and Cal? Right? So we're going to start with Bill on this. Who are you picking, Bill, Hawaii or the Cal Bears?
Yeah, I mean, getting right to it. I guess after a little Hawaii talk and philosophy talk, hopping right into it. I think looking at the game, two good teams, 8-4, 7-5. For Hawaii, I think a great year for them. Cal, I think they just fired their coach, so maybe not as expected for them, but coming in probably two different mentalities, philosophies. Both, I think, like throwing the ball quite a bit. Two pretty good quarterbacks. I think Hawaii's number one wideout maybe sitting out via transfer portal, so I think that maybe comes into play a little bit. But a lot of reasons kind of pull towards Cal. I think they're trying to kind of get their program back in order, but this is Hawaii Bowl. We're having a Hawaii Bowl preview here, so can't pick anyone but the Rainbow Warriors. So we'll go with the Hawaii. I think hopefully a big shootout, 45-42 or something like that. Hawaii pulls it out, get a game-winning kick by the kicker there from Hawaii.
Okay, all right, Cole. What are you saying? You picking the Bears of Cal or the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the spread and things like that, just because I haven't watched Hawaii a lot this year, and I've watched a couple Cal games, but yeah, I think there's a lot of factors going against Cal. I do think that could work against them, especially losing their coach. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Hawaii as the slight underdog winning it. That could be a lot of fun, anyways, for the game.
Okay. All right. Drew, let's go to you on this.
Yeah, I think it's be a great game. Two teams that are really comparable to each other. This is why I love bowl season, because you kind of get matched up with a team you really don't see too often, and you kind of like have the same circumstance, same record, same type of player. So that's why these bowl games are always fun and interesting. I think it's Cal's going to come into the game with some momentum, and they want to play. And you losing their coach, maybe they want to play for the interim coach. But as soon as you get on the field and they see Hawaii do the haka haka, it's game over. They're going to be the fear gods to get into the Cal. Hawaii's going to take over the game, and I'm going Hawaii 31, Cal 10.
Okay. And for people that don't know, Drew and I actually got a chance to see Hawaii play about 10 years ago at Ohio State. And watching them do the haka was the coolest thing you could ever imagine. And Hawaii got rolled. That's when Norm Chow was the coach. But Hawaii bet them. It was 17-0 Ohio State going into the fourth quarter. Then they just wore them out from there. But it was a really, really good game.
Yeah. I tell you what, we had the last seats possible. I think our backs were to the top of the stadium, and we heard the haka haka from there. It was unbelievable. We couldn't. It was like the whole stadium went silent and just let them do their thing. It was a really cool thing to see.
It was definitely awesome. And for people that don't know, because this was breaking a few hours ago, the Tokyo Toe Kanzai Matsuzawa is the first consensus All-American in Hawaii football history. For people that don't know, he is from Japan originally, seen a YouTube video of an American person kicking a football, went to a community college in the Midwest, taught himself how to be a kicker, and now he is a 26-year-old consensus All-American for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, the first in history. So, Chris, though, who is winning this game? Your prediction?
I'm afraid I'd ask you a question first so you could fact check me. What's Hawaii's record in the Hawaii Bowl?
Oh man, it is. I want to say they've been in it 9 times. I believe it's 5-4.
Even better, it's 6-3.
Okay,
according to my research. And for that reason, very Lee Corso-esque, not too deep of a thought here, Hawaii's not going to lose. Give me the Tokyo Toe. And Hawaii, they might kick 6 field goals if they need to. Not going to lose at home to Cal.
Okay. That'd be great. Hey, the Tokyo Toe walks it off for Hawaii in the game. Jordan, who are you picking for this?
Yeah, hard to go against Hawaii at home in a bowl game. This lefty from Cal has been coming on a little bit, coming on strong. He's got some pop off of his hand, man. He's kind of got that it factor in the last few games you've seen in him. But they're in such turmoil right now. They got so much against them with the coach being out and stuff. And kind of just what Marsko said, you can't bet against Hawaii in Hawaii for the Hawaii Bowl, man. You can't do it. It's like, that's like a sin. So give me the Rainbow Warriors, man.
Okay. And TJ, what are you going to round this out with? What's your answer?
Yeah, it should go against everybody, right? Nah. Hawaii all day long. I think, honestly, it seems this is going to be weird. I think they run the ball better. I think it's going to come down to a couple of those things just happening, where it's like, okay, need that 3-yard first down here, and they're going to spread out. And okay, here's inside zone, and let's get another first down. So I don't know. I just think they're a little bit more balanced of a team. But yeah, I mean, it's a long travel. And I mean, they're sitting there just waiting for them to come. So they're ready to go. So yeah, they'll represent.
Okay. And what I would say is here, I mean, of course, I'm a Hawaii fan on this. I do think Hawaii has a slight edge in this game. I really do, because of Timmy Chang's experience with this, and the state of Hawaii is behind you. You're playing for the state. Hasn't been to a bowl game in a long time, right? But for people that don't know, you're talking about Hawaii's running game. Landon Sims, the human hammer, he is a legacy football player there. His dad played there in the late 80s, I believe. Only has 523 rushing yards, but it's a very punishing 523 rushing yards. If he played in the 1950s, he would have been in the NFL Hall of Fame. He is the stiffest, most upright running back ever. He's blonde. He looks like a surfer, but he's just a big dude, and he is literally the hammer when he comes through. There is no trying to juke anybody. He's like the very poor man's Larry Zonka. For all of us old, NFL fans right there. So watch the human hammer a little bit. Definitely look like he's going to go surfing. All right, guys. So the Hawaii game is played, or the Hawaii Bowl is played at 8 o'clock Eastern time zone, 3 o'clock Hawaii time zone. If you can pick any other time for this game to be played at that's not 8 o'clock Eastern time zone, what time would you want to see this game played, considering also there's a 5-hour difference for Hawaii time? So what time would you pick? TJ, let's start with you on this.
Oh boy. I see. This is beautiful for both sides. I mean, 8 o'clock, I think you're about done wrapping up. I think the important things are done for Christmas Eve. I know my Christmas Eve church service is 5:30 to 6. So I mean, if you bump it up an hour to save them, maybe 7, that'd be fine. Get some people to stick around for, because, the end of the game, the second half will be over. But I think it's a beautiful time. I think they did that really well done.
Okay, but you would say 7. Okay, DeMarco, you agreeing 7, or are you picking another time?
I'm with him on this. Like, I don't know if I would really change it a ton. I kind of like it right where it's at. You're doing a lot of stuff on Christmas Eve. Most people tend to do more stuff during the day, middle of the day, so you don't want to see it then. It's more of it's Christmas Eve, everything's done, we're sitting on the couch enjoying stuff, unless you have a tradition at night. So I would probably, I don't have much to say on this one. I'd move it up to 7, or I'd leave it right where it's at 8. That's totally fine with me. I think that's a perfect spot.
Okay, what about you, Chris?
I'm one of those East Coast people that whine and moan about how late I got to stay up sometimes now just to watch some stuff happening on the West Coast when my Cleveland teams are out there. So this might be surprising if you know me in that sense, but I'm good with them pushing it back an hour. It's not going to change any viewership on TV. If you're watching football and or the Hawaii Bowl, you're still going to watch football in the Hawaii Bowl. It'll last me a little longer while I'm putting kids' toys together. It'll end somewhere between probably midnight and 1. Just last me, burn that midnight oil a little better for me. So I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to say push it back an hour. Okay. And come on now, it's an extra hour of festivities for all the fine people in Hawaii. Kicks off at 4 instead of 3. Everyone's a winner.
Okay.
I'm in place. It's Christmas Eve. Kick it off at 9. Even
right.
And I go back.
Drew, what are you saying here?
Yeah, I agree with the consensus here. Christmas Eve usually for myself and probably most families happens more later in the day. By the time that kicks off, all the chaos is done with your family. You've eaten. I'm probably on my 4th or 5th Christmas ale at that point, and I'm sitting cozy in my chair. I don't have any kids yet, so I don't got to worry about making the Christmas cookies are out, the milk is out. All I got to worry about is if another Christmas ale is gonna be next to me or not. I'm gonna sit there, probably put $20 in Hawaii, and have a great old time. Merry Christmas.
Okay. Cole, what are you saying for this? And for people that don't know, and Cole, please correct me if I'm wrong, Cole is a distant cousin of Rob Schneider.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know what that
we're talking about famous people. I mean, we had somebody
fine.
play with Billy Price. We had somebody play with Kareem Hunt. I got to shout out, Rob Schneider, Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo on here as a relative. But what time are you gonna get a change of time?
Well, honestly, I'd go earlier. That way I don't have to talk to my family. I can just sit there and watch football while they're over on Christmas Eve. So I can just avoid everybody and watch some football. So let's make it as early as possible. Let's do 12 o'clock start for them.
So 5 o'clock us 12 for them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, Stoy, what are you saying here?
Man, these guys got all the time slots covered, I think. Not much else to go with, but I'll go with what Marsko's saying. We'll go 10 o'clock. We'll go even an hour later. I feel like it's weird watching Hawaii anytime other than bedtime. So we'll put them on at 10 o'clock, let it run till 1 a.m., and we'll all fall asleep to Rainbow Warrior scoring touchdowns.
Okay. For me, I would pick probably, I would say actually 4 o'clock our time, 11 o'clock their time, because for me, we're doing stuff maybe a little bit later on Christmas Eve sometimes. But then also, you allow people in Hawaii to like have their game and enjoy the rest of their day. They're having it at 3 o'clock. You're almost in a weird time zone for them because if you think about it, like our sense, how many people are going to a football game at 3 o'clock? So we got to think about it for them. If you move a little bit earlier, it may make it a little bit easier on them. And at 4 o'clock, hey, at the Cole's point, you can kind of just tune out your family and, watch some football. So I would watch it if it was at 7 a.m. or 3 in the morning. You guys know me, big Hawaii fan here with that. So, all right, guys, we're going to round out the show with these last couple. So for anybody who doesn't know, the Cal interim head coach, Nick Rolovich, is a former Hawaii quarterback who actually replaced current Hawaii football coach Timmy Chang after Chang graduated from Hawaii. Rolovich went 8-1 as a starter his senior year and amassed 3,364 yards and 34 touchdowns in 9 games, while breaking 19 school records and 8 offensive records. Rolovich ended his career with 3 consecutive 500-yard passing games. He's also the former head coach at Hawaii. When he left, he went to Washington State, was ultimately let go there. He's the interim coach for this game and just re-signed with Cal to be the associate head coach and quarterbacks coach. So just going a little bit off of some fun facts there. Now, this is going to tie back into a question we had a couple of questions ago, but I want to get your guys' opinions. People say all the time the Hawaii quarterbacks are a product of their system. So Chang, Rolovich, Cole McDonald, Colt Brennan, and even Michael Alejado here. But because they all put up these monster numbers. But do you think anyone can run this type of offense? Or does it really take a special player to run this type of offense with the tradition Hawaii's had? Or can anybody step out there and run this offense? Or does it take a special player? So, Soy, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, I think it takes a special type of player. I think you need to have someone that has a confidence. They're the show out there. They're distributing the ball. They're getting in everyone's hands, and you got to be able to do that with a lot of confidence. If you're hesitating back there, things change quickly on the route. So I think someone with a ton of confidence and someone with an incredible amount of vision to be able to see the spread around field, be able to kind of follow priorities. You got 5 people a lot of times running routes, 4 people running routes. I think it takes someone who's very smart, calculated, and confident to be able to run an offense like that and do it with command.
Okay. Cole, what are your thoughts about this? You're a big college football fan. You've seen a lot of football, in your life as a player and as a fan. Can anybody run this offense? Can you take, one of the playoff team quarterbacks and put them in there and have this success? Or does this take a special type of QB to run this offense?
Well, it's not a super standard offense. So I think that there is kind of a learning curve, right? I mean, it's hard because, the top-notch quarterbacks in college are top-notch, and they're going to be good with what they got. So I kind of agree with Bill where it's like you need a guy that really understands the offense, but also, I think that the top-notch quarterbacks could be able to handle it after they figure out like what the system is.
Okay. Drew, what about you? You're an offensive coordinator. You've been an offensive guy, right? You're really your whole coaching career, except for when, you kind of started out, you're a little bit of a defensive guy there. But, does it take a special type of player to do this, or can anybody run this offense?
I have 2 points here. I think it does. Every quarterback's different. You look at any quarterback throughout college. They bring different kind of tools and abilities to your team. So I think all these guys are Division I athletes and top tier players, but some guys are not. Don't excel and maybe reading a defense as quickly as somebody else, or maybe they're more of a pocket passer type of guy. Check read, check 2, check 3. So it's different. I think it does take a special type of player. And to piggyback off that, I'm actually, most people here know this, I'm a Tennessee Titan fan. And Tennessee Titans quarterback from early 2010s was Marcus Mariota. And I was a big Marcus Mariota fan, and I've kind of followed his story when they got drafted from him and all that. And actually, so Mariota's from Hawaii, and he was going to go to Hawaii, and he went to a camp out there and got exposed. He couldn't run the system that they had, so he had to go somewhere else. And eventually he went to Oregon and did what he did and became a second pick in the draft. But it just shows to you, like, a player has Mariota's ability. At starting quarterback right now, year 10 or year 11, he still had struggles in a run and gun offense. So I think it definitely depends on what you got and what you can bring.
Okay, Marsko, what about you on this?
Yeah, so I'm not going to bring up the kid's name because I don't know how old he is still, but Coach McLaughlin runs the fun and gun with his stud quarterback, and there's 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 9 dudes out in the route, it feels like sometimes. And I'm as a defensive guy, I feel like it does take a special kid, that offense so perfectly fits him. I mean, we compared him to little Johnny Manziel. I mean, it really accentuates a kid that's able to make plays with his feet while his eyes are downfield and, distribute the ball equally. And, it's when one guy tilts the field in some ways, it's odd. It almost makes it easier to defend. Now, does it always work out? No, because sometimes that guy's a dude like Jeremiah Smith or somebody like that. But sometimes when you got a guy that tilts the field and you could kind of cross the other guy off, the game plan is irrelevant or not as much of a focus, you can still kind of D him up because you give him that proper attention. But when you got somebody back there that can distribute the ball properly and is accurate, I think the biggest thing is being accurate. You got to be efficient with the ball because you have to stay on schedule. You run the ball efficiently in a fair amount, but that offense is predicated on distribution and completed passes. And you throw incomplete passes, you're not going to be on the field very long. So, I think it absolutely takes a special kid. You ask anybody, I mean, I obviously wasn't a quarterback, but throwing the ball 50 times, that takes a certain amount of moxie, if you will. Like, you're going to take your shots too. You're putting yourself in harm's way. You got to be tough. So,
Sure.
And real quick, Chris had an excellent game plan against that kid too. He did a great job, and it was a battle, man. It really was.
Appreciate you, Coach.
For people that don't know, Michael Alejado, the quarterback at Hawaii, is only 5'10", 180 pounds. So he is actually one of the smaller quarterbacks compared to the gigantic guys, they had in the past. So, Jordan, you're a former, quarterback, as we mentioned earlier. You're bigger than 5'10", 180 pounds. That's for sure. So, can anybody run this offense, or does this have to be a special type of QB?
It has to be a special type of guy in a few ways. You got to be mentally mature, I think, beyond the normal guys in terms of you got to be so decisive in that offense. Things are happening quickly. You can't have time to second guess. You got to be so studious in film of what this team's going to give you when you're running fast, and you got to be decisive with the football. So I think more than even the physical traits, it's more the mental traits when you're running so fast like that. Being able to see things quickly and getting to your pre-snap read and then to your post-snap read all within 15 seconds of getting a signal. We faced a team like that out here in Western PA called North Catholic. Their quarterback threw for an insane amount of yards. I think he almost threw for 4,000 yards this season. And I think he threw the ball against us in the playoffs 56 times. And it's extremely tough to prepare for when you got 5 or 6 guys out in a route. It seems like almost every play. So you got to have someone that's, I think, different up in the head, even more so than the physical traits. You got to be accurate. Everyone knows that, but you got to be very mentally decisive when you're running that type of offense. And you got to have a guy that trusts what he's seeing, knows what he's seeing, and he's going to execute.
Okay. Now, TJ, round us out on this one.
Yeah, big thing, short-term memory, because you are going to be tossing it around a lot. I mean, you have to be able to be okay with, hey, I know the next drive, it's not like we're going to the run next drive. You're coming right back and they're doing it again. So just having that short-term memory, which is, most quarterbacks, they really need anyway. But, knowing the ball is going to be in your hands, knowing you're going to be tossing it around, game after game, drive after drive, just, So no, I think it takes a special person. It doesn't take some people have the talent to throw the ball 70 yards downfield, and some people have the talent to be able to, withstand an entire football game and be able to handle the rock like that and have that type of responsibility and that percentage of the ball in your hands. So, it absolutely takes a special player.
Okay. All right, guys, 2 questions left. Now, I want to start with Cole on this one because Cole works in the higher ed space. He's worked in recruiting for a long time. So I want to hear this from his perspective. And being a former football player, going to Johns Hopkins and these things as well. Cole, what do you think the biggest challenge to Hawaii for recruiting football players is? What is their biggest challenge in your opinion?
I mean, that's tough right off the rip. I think that obviously where it is tough because you're going to be, unless they're recruiting directly in the state, it's hard to get a kid to go out there. So you might be picking up kids from California that maybe aren't as good, so it's just like, I don't know. That's a really tough question. A lot of kids would probably be super stoked to live in Hawaii, but it's also expensive in Hawaii because you have to ship a lot of stuff there. So unless they have, making money somehow, it's going to be hard to live and like buy things, just outside of the school itself. But yeah, I think probably just where it is probably the hardest part. If they're already in Hawaii, that's probably really easy. And then also the program, if you're trying to get a big time, recruit, Hawaii is not necessarily known as like a big time Division I program, whatever you want to say there. Division I's hard to get into anyways, but they're not like a big time program. So they're not going to get like the big guys, but I think placement, program, those are probably the 2 biggest things.
Okay. TJ, you're a former scholarship baseball player at the Division II level. What is your opinion on this? What is probably the hardest thing for Hawaii when it comes to recruiting for football?
Yeah, I think even just getting the coaches out there, getting the coaches from Hawaii to the States, to the different, because how often are you going to send a coach from Hawaii to go watch football in Florida? How often are you going to send these guys to the real different parts of the countries where you're looking for these skill players? So even on the player standpoint, yeah, I think there's players everywhere. Yeah, finding players that will actually take that chance to go to Hawaii will be difficult as it is, but just getting the exposure, from your coaching staff outside of tape, because everyone sends you the best tapes, everybody sends you their best drills, but getting in-game looks, you got to see the kid get knocked down too, see that reaction, because that's a big part of it. You got to see the moxie of the kid during the game. So, you wonder, and I'm sure they find a way to do it, obviously, but you just wonder how often a Hawaii coach comes to Ohio to watch a Ohio football game on a Friday night. So I think that would be really tough.
Sure. Jordan, you are a former college quarterback who's moved, from one school to another, and you recruited or you coach at a high level in the WPIL in Western Pennsylvania. What do you think the hardest thing for Hawaii recruiting wise is for football?
I mean, location's the number one. You're limiting yourself to certain states that you can really heavily recruit from. Trying to get kids that don't live in Hawaii to come to Hawaii sounds always great at first thought. And then you think about family and travel and expenses, and those things are all complications that weigh into it. And then no one's really brought this up yet, but there's a lot of good football players that come out of the state of Hawaii. And the really high end ones aren't going to Hawaii. They're going to USC. They're going to Oregon. Washington takes a ton. You think about all the great Polynesian players that have came out, like Mariota and all those guys, Paul Malu, they didn't go to Hawaii. They're not native to there, they're not native and staying home in Hawaii. So you're up against everything there when you can't even get the best from your home state to stay. So it's incredibly difficult. I think they pull a lot of their kids from California, the West Coast, obviously, but your chances of you guys getting the top guy from Florida or Texas or places like that is so slim to none. You're drawing thin. They probably have the hardest recruiting capabilities of any Division I school in the country, even though it is Hawaii, just from logistical standpoints. So their backs are up against the wall. It's tough to do.
Okay. Now, Bill, before I go to you on this one, I do want to point this out. Famous NFL football player Darrelle Revis, former New York Jet, Aliquippa Equip from Western Pennsylvania, WPIL player, was teammates of Mike Washington, who is from Aliquippa, same age as me, went actually out to Hawaii to play, was one of the few people from Pennsylvania to ever go out there and play. One of their other teammates in high school for Aliquippa was Tommy Campbell, former Tennessee Titan right there, played for Cal PA and Pitt for a short period of time. So just making a few connections there for the people that don't know. A lot of great, football players out of WPIL there, but we did have one go to Hawaii. But Bill, you're a big sports guy. You follow a lot of recruiting. What's Hawaii's biggest issue with recruiting athletes for football?
Yeah, I think, as everyone said, location. It just cuts your percentage of kids that would even take it seriously down, probably 10, 20% of everybody. And I think those are probably more on the West Coast. So would take seriously going, it's a long way, obviously, out there. Flights are hard. You want your family, friends to watch you play. Becomes a lot less realistic when you're that far away. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then another thing I would like to throw out, I'm not sure if I'm still here.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
My fault. I clicked a button over here, but just the NIL now. I think in the new era, in the past few years, kind of being able to play or pay players, to bring recruits in. Not sure if Hawaii really has that support in the state. I think obviously if you're, Chang and you're trying to rebuild this program, I think trying to get some of the money in Hawaii, you're, really the only big program in the state. Hopefully get them being able to kind of chip in, pay some players adequately and be able to kind of compete in that market. It's a giant portion of college football recruiting now, and to be able to even touch some of those top players, you got to come with some money. So I think that's definitely something that's kind of, a work in progress in Hawaii. I think it definitely something that needs to be kind of addressed and worked hard at by Chang to get,
Okay.
the boosters involved there.
So, Chris, you're a former student assistant at the Division I level, at the FCS level. What's your opinion? What's Hawaii's biggest issue with recruiting?
I think maybe same issue, different way of wording it. I almost look at their recruiting situation unique as almost an Ivy League school or like a Cal or Stanford, one of the extremely high-end academic schools. You have such a small population that you're already selecting from. In terms of willingness and all the other things everyone's already touched on. But I think that's maybe the bigger issue than finding the talent. I forget who mentioned it, but there's a lot of talent at home that doesn't necessarily see the value of staying at home. Even when Hawaii was great, they didn't get the high-end players, but they had enough staying at home that it had a very Hawaii feel to what was going on down there. And, I don't want to feed a fed horse. It's kind of they're choosing from a very select population. It's not. It's long to get from Ohio to Vegas, for instance. Going from where you got to take off to get to Hawaii, it's like going across the pond to England. So
Sure. All right, Drew, round us out on this one.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of touched on the biggest issue there is the location. But like kind of what Bill said, I'd like to really see what the NIL deal is there. If they are supported heavily, or if they're kind of needing more to get more successful. I will say though they are 8-4, so it's not like they're 2-10 or 3-9. That they're having success. And I'll never forget when they played who they played in the Cotton Bowl, I think it was, or the Sugar Bowl. Was it Georgia?
Oh, that was Georgia in 2008.
Yeah, so it's capable. It's capable to get the players, and you get the right schedule, you win the right games, and in this day and age with the playoff going up higher and higher, and they stay around that 8-9 wins, you never know, they might sneak in at some point. And I'm sure if they do sneak in, it might be like a Cincinnati effect where that they just boost them incredibly, and they become not a powerhouse, but a team that people will look at, future company. I see James Madison's in there now, Tulane's in there. So I think, Hawaii's on no bottom feeder. I think they can get some players out there. And if they could at some point in the next few years make a playoff run, I think that just helps their cases even more.
Okay. All right, guys. Last question. Rounding out the Hawaii Bowl 2025 show. I'm so excited to hear you guys answer on this. All right. If you can turn back the clock and be 18 years old again, and Hawaii offers you a full scholarship to come play football for the Rainbow Warriors, TJ, are you going out to Hawaii to be a defensive back for the Rainbow Warriors?
Oh, good Lord. Here's the thing. Trick question. I got recruited at 17 and I was 135 pounds. 18 years old, I was 190. So maybe. I think I would have considered it. I'd have been like, whatever. I didn't have a girlfriend here. Nothing crazy. My parents were okay with me as long as I got my education. So, I got the tan.
Jordan, you going back to 18 years old, being a gunslinging quarterback right out of Virginia, you coming out to Hawaii to play football?
Yeah.
Yeah, just shaking his head like.
I could probably speak for the rest of the group. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All right, Chris.
Questions. Just don't
Chris,
give me
now,
details. Give me a plane ticket. I'll see my parents when I see them. Love you guys. See you out there.
Okay. No, Chris, you're not going as a center. You're going as a linebacker. You going out to Hawaii at 18 to play football for them?
On an unofficial visit and an official visit, sign me up right now. But if I'm good enough to get a scholarship there, I'm trying to walk on at one of the bigger programs around me or a MAC level school, or I'm using that as a barometer, and I'm taking my trips out there. I'm definitely getting my values worth out of being on their recruiting board, but I will probably not be committing to the Rainbow Warriors on signing day.
Bill, are you coming straight out of Austin Town as the starting left guard for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors on the run and gun offense?
Man, let me be the quarterback and I'm there. We're living in a fantasy world. Let me be the quarterback and I'm signing the papers. Get me out there.
You know what, Bill? You could be like the next Johnny Manziel of Hawaii football.
Exactly.
Hopefully just not the Cleveland Browns version of Johnny Manziel, right? But the A&M version. Cole, you going out as the starting defensive tackle to the University of Hawaii?
I mean, to be real, no. I went to my dream school, so I did what I wanted to do for college. I loved playing in high school, and I had a great time, but I was never going to be a Division I or Division III athlete for sports. So
sure.
No, I want to play music and go to school for that. That's what I wanted to do.
All right. Drew, you going out as a tight end to the University of Hawaii. You can be also, but you can also be like their H-back.
Well, yeah, here's the problem. They're in the run and gun. I'll be a tight end. I'll be twiddling my thumbs on the sideline all day long. You know what? As much as I love the weather, I got to agree with Chris. I go out there, I visit 2, 3, 4 times, but if I ever committed out to Hawaii, I don't got the speed for that. I'll watch it from afar, but I'll go sign up and play for frickin' Cincinnati, or if I'm that good, or I'll get Max.
This is crazy. This is preposterous. You're getting a full ride to Hawaii. I'm gone. If that's my only offer.
Hey,
gone.
I'd have to think about it, but
catch me at all the luau's, man.
Yep. Preposterous.
That's funny. But guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I would like to thank Cole, Jordan, Bill, Chris, TJ, and Drew for hopping on and talking all things Hawaii Bowl 2025. I was so excited, for talking about this game. It was, a great time breaking all things down about the weather and the offense and the teams. I hope people can definitely tune in on Christmas Eve at 8 p.m. to check out the Hawaii Bowl, because they're going to show the beach and people are going to go, wow, I'm sitting in 20-degree weather in the snow and these people are on the beach in 77-degree water temperature. Maybe I should go out there next year. So, you know what, man? Maybe we got Hawaii some tourism by free tourism promos by just being on this show. But thank you guys so much for talking about it. We definitely wish everyone a very safe and happy holiday season. Definitely make sure you tune in and check out these athletes probably playing for the last time for a lot of these seniors, in the Hawaii Bowl. The next episode you're going to hear from us after this show airs is our Christmas Eve show, talking about all things Christmas with a great panel of guests. So make sure you tune in for next week's episode. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend and tell a friend. And if you didn't enjoy the show, tell them anyways, because I bet they like it just because you did it. This is Fitty signing off, and we will see you next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by W Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.